Good morning, everyone. How we doing today? So today is supposed to be Mac Pro Day. So far, it is not there. The pricing has not been on the Apple Store yet. They did update the actual Apple App Store on the for mobile devices. Let me see if that's, because I keep checking there as well to see if they update it there. Let's just check. No, they have not updated it there either. So who knows what time they're going to be updating for the prices and stuff. Jay Frosting says, happy purchasing, Richard. Thank you very much, Jay. I'm not going to purchase today. I'm probably not anyway. So they've had some interesting things. First off, I do want to thank Tim Cook for keeping an eye on my Mac Pro for me. There he is. He kept this one just for me whenever I decide to buy it. That's pretty cool of him. Good old Tim Cook. So speaking of Tim Cook, I want to congratulate them on Apple makes history with Golden Globe nomination for the morning show. That is on their newsroom page. I keep checking that to see if they have the Mac Pro announcement on there. They have not so far. So we'll see. Have to see how that goes. One thing I do want to say is I want to congratulate Apple TV Plus, because not only is the morning show a really, really good series, it's funny, but it's more drama than it is comedy. I thought it was going to be more comedy, but it's not. It's very good. It's a very good series. And also the other one that I'm watching on Apple TV Plus is Servant, which is also excellent. M. Night Shyamalan. It's really, really good. I thought it was going to be a horror film TV series. It's not. It's not at all. It's a mystery. It's a drama as well. Both of them are excellent. When I first heard about Apple TV coming on, I thought they were going to be more like PG, like Disney. These two shows are not PG by any stretch of the imagination. They are very, very edgy, like something you would see on Amazon Prime or Netflix. So just be aware, they're not family friendly. Those two series aren't. Some of the series are, of course. Yes, some of them are. So we have a lot of updates today. OGDC says, good morning, Rich. I was reading about Color Finale 2. I'm impressed, especially when Resolve 16 is incorporating so many features. You're absolutely correct. So one of the new updates. So we have updates from Color Finale. We have updates from Frame.io. And we also have updates from Apple whenever they decide to launch the pricing for the Mac Pro, which is what we're waiting on. Let's just check on that real quick. See if they've come live yet. Coming this fall. It still says coming this fall. Well, we know it's coming today. They've already announced this. So what time is it going to show up? We don't know. We could be on here for a couple hours, but hopefully it'll be shortly. Yesterday we were on for 90 minutes, hour and a half, and that video already has like 1,000 views already from yesterday. Today we'll probably top that. So IMIT Gopal, what time is the Mac Pro release? We don't know. We don't know. That's what we're waiting on. Hopefully we're going to be here live when the pricing comes out. So some people already have a Mac Pro. Some people already have it, because I've seen videos, people that already have it on YouTube and stuff. They're probably going to, as soon as it comes out, they're probably going to release a whole bunch of reviews, and people are going to be unboxing it, et cetera, et cetera. One of the neat things that, well, let's go on to another comment first. Our friend Torgrim Grimstad from Norway. He says, well, it's in Oslo, it's 4 p.m, and the day is nearly over without any news from Apple. So clearly, we Norwegians are not a priority. Exited to see if I can get a new FCPX 10.5, I think he means soon. So there's some interesting news on the Final Cut Pro front as well. Let's pull that up. Let me just see where the heck that is. So, last night I got a text from my friend Brad Olson. He's going to stop by a little bit later. And he said that I missed the Final Cut Pro update. And I said, well, what are you talking about? So if you go to the Final Cut Pro feedback page and you select which version of Final Cut Pro are you using, look what it says. 10.4.8, which has not been released yet. 10.4.8 is an unreleased version. So does that mean 10.4.8 is coming today? Don't know. Do not know. But it sure is interesting, if it's not coming today, that they have it up on their comment feedback page from Final Cut Pro. Let's see if they just keep on checking, because, you know, they'll sneak it out on us. Anybody want to buy one of these? You can probably get it pretty cheap. Choose your new Mac Pro. Isn't it about time that they took the word new out of there? What do you think? 2013? I don't think it's a new Mac Pro. Hasn't been new for many, many years. But anyway, they're still available right now. It's not a cheap price, $4,000 to start with. So, Simone Villani says, what about 10.5? Greetings from Italy. Simone, we don't know. Well, 10.5's going to be here at some point. I don't know if it's going to be here today. I would say probably, I don't know. Who knows? We're going to keep on checking that as well. But let's just do the Mac Pro first. It should be going live sometime shortly. That's what we're figuring on. So let's see what else is going on today while we're waiting for the Mac Pro to be updated. Let's see what we got here. Marcus says, greetings from Germany. Greetings, Marcus. And then Simone says, thank you, boss. I'm not the boss, but thank you anyway. Let's see what I'm going to try to keep up on comments the best that I can. So Tony Mazzotti says, possibly, he's talking about the 10.4.8 reference. He says, possibly the version for beta users to point out problems in the new version that will be released soon. I don't think the beta version is public, and that link was public, so it could be a mistake. It could be as simple as a mistake. Let's just check on, I don't see anything there. we're going to keep on checking for the Mac Pro to be updated. Well, not updated. We just want to get the pricing. So it's still not, it still says coming this fall. We'll keep refreshing that. We went over some of the details yesterday. So that's pretty cool anyway. So we may be on here for a while. I got some guests coming on a little bit. And let's go over one of the other updates that are out today. So Color Finale has been updated to version 2. Color Finale has been updated to version 2. Here we go. Let's just play a little bit of that.
Color Finale 2 is using the new Metal 2 based rendering engine, featuring up to 4 times faster rendering time compared to our previous OpenCL based rendering, present in earlier versions of Color Finale.
So there's a bunch of features, new features as you might expect. I'm not going to go through them all. You can find them on all the information you need about Color Finale. You can find at colorfinale.com. But they have a new version 2.0 that just came out. They have a nice demo video there on their website talking all about the new features.
Playback are simply smoothed out by the brain. Grain presets can...
So they have a new inspector there right over here on the left-hand side, right-hand side. It has all kind of neat stuff for colorists. I'm not a colorist. I don't play one on TV. So go to colorfinale.com to find out about that, of course. They have tracking and all kinds of stuff. LUT gallery there. You can go to colorfinale.com to find out all about Color Finale. So that's one of the updates today. How many of you use Color Finale? I bought the version originally a year ago, and I never used it so far. I'm not a colorist. I spend more time in video, and I spend a lot of time in audio in Logic Pro. So that's very interesting, of course. I'm going to shut that down a little bit, just adjusting my audio. So let me go back and just keep on. I'm going to keep on checking. What time do you guys think it's going to be updated? I figured it would be updated by now. It's 10:27 on the East Coast, which means it's what time on the 7:30 on the West Coast, maybe 8 o'clock on the West Coast, maybe 9 o'clock. But the thing is that this is worldwide, so it's not just the West Coast or the East Coast of the U.S. As our friend Torgrim said, it's 4 in the afternoon in Oslo. In Europe, it's 4 o'clock, I think, 5 o'clock. So who the heck knows? Have to see. Apple will update it shortly. They said today, so it is today. Let me just check on the App Store version. I got the App Store version up. I just keep doing a search there. No, the App Store version keeps saying, you can't see it, but it keeps saying the iMac Pro, and then down here it has the old version of the Mac Pro. So I haven't seen it yet. If you guys see it on Twitter or something, let me know, and I'll refresh. So Frame.io is another, they've got an update as well. We might have somebody from Frame.io on a little bit later. Frame.io, fully connected suite, introducing Frame.io for the iPad. Download on the App Store. Everything's coming to the apps, to the iPad and the iPhone. We have some friends over there at Frame.io. We have Patrick Southern and Michael Cioni now is with Frame.io, and of course Emery. He did a great job with their booth at NAB last year. It was the best booth for anything Final Cut Pro related at NAB. Apple didn't present last year. So how many of you are buying a Mac Pro? According to a few polls that I've seen, 10 to 12% are saying they're going to be buying a Mac Pro. That's a good amount for something that's expensive as it is. So one of the things that, you know what is interesting, I put up, well, back when the Mac Pro was announced at WWDC, I put up this article on FCPX.tv. Top 10 very predictable 2019 Mac Pro complaints. It's over at FCPX.tv. So let's go over some of them. Very predictable. Everybody could have guessed these for sure. Number one, it costs too much. Yeah, that's Apple. Everything they get criticized for costing too much. Apple is a premium brand. So yes. Number two complaint. Looks like the old cheese grater Mac Pro. Yes, it does. And I like that. Number three, it doesn't have FireWire. Number four, I hear this all the time, I can build a PC version for half the price. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Help yourself. Number five, no NVIDIA Gouda cheese option. Number six, it's too powerful. Number seven, no bagel warmer like the trash can. The trash can at the top has a little place there to put a bagel. So this doesn't have one of those. Number eight, too many ports, expansion options. I've heard people say it's too professional. Number nine, no DVD drive. Number 10, doesn't respond to Hey Alexa. Yes, it does not. And number 11, I hear this from people all the time, I can't afford one, so you shouldn't buy one either. I hear people all the time says, why are you buying a Mac Pro? I can get by on an iMac Pro. Well, don't worry about why somebody else is buying a Mac Pro. You buy what you want, let other people buy what they want. It's none of your beeswax. And of course, bonus, it costs too much, of course. So I have a list here. These are the original videos from the Mac Pro. These are ones from WWDC. I have dozens and dozens of them. I expect more to come out today. These are the original Mac Pro reviews, first impressions. They're over at FCPX.tv. And I will be assembling a master list from December 2019 as soon as the Mac Pro is announced. Let's just check, see if it's coming out yet, if the price is coming out. Nope, not yet. So here's the thing. The Mac Pro is expensive. $6,000 to start. If I was buying, so I'm not sure if that's Emil or Emily. He says, I am buying a Mac Pro. Very good. I know I'll be excited to get one. One of the things about the Mac Pro, which I read today, let me see if this is it. Oh, here we go. So this is great news for people that are buying a Mac Pro. The Mac Pro is coming today, and Apple Card owners get it for 6% cheaper. So normally on the Mac Pro, normally on the Apple Card, you get 3%, but apparently there's a special until December 31st that Apple gives an extra 3% for purchases of Mac hardware on the Apple Store. So you get 6% off according to this article. In my case, that would take care of my sales tax in Maryland. In Maryland, sales tax is 5%. So I'm planning on spending about $10,000 on a Mac Pro, and sales tax will be $500. So if I get 6% back, that takes care of the sales tax, plus I get an extra 1%. So Emil says, I'm a he. Okay, thank you for clarifying that for everybody listening and watching. But once again, if you're going to buy one today, 6%. If you have a Mac Pro Apple card, if you buy a Mac Pro and you get an Apple card, that's a good bit of change. That's like, in my case, it's going to be $600. So that's very, very cool. Let's check again. I'm going to keep checking this during the thing. Not yet. Coming this fall. Let's check the newsroom as well. Nothing. Nothing yet. All right. Surely will be. So who knows when it's going to go on sale? Daryl Jackson says Mac Pro go on sale at 1 p.m., at 10 p.m. PST, 1 p.m. EST. If that's the case, we're going to be on here for a long time. But I do have some other guests coming up. So I'm going to stay on until it goes on sale. I want to price it live. If I got to take a break, I'll take a break. It's just checking some. I'm just checking some things. Some checking for comments and things. So Emil says, my question is, will it go on sale globally or just the U.S.? Good question. I don't know the answer to that. I presume, well, who knows? Who knows? So if it goes on sale at 1 o'clock, we're going to be here till 1 o'clock. I'm just going to stay here until it goes on sale. I have some guests coming up shortly, and we're going to talk about different things. Let me see if I got to check on one of my guests. See if they can. Oh. If you want to come on the show and talk about the Mac Pro, you can do that on Skype. You have to get on Skype. Let me just see what's trending. Let me just check here. So a lot of people are saying they can't wait to see what the fully spec'd out Mac Pro is going to be. Well, it's going to be a lot. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets out of the $20,000 range and goes into the $30,000. If you get the 28 core and you get the 4 terabyte SSD and you get all the graphics cards and stuff. I mean, the iMac Pro, let me just see, the iMac Pro, if we spec out the iMac Pro to everything, I think it goes to like mid-teens. Let me just see. So let's just spec this out while we're waiting. So buy starts at $5,000. So it's $1,000 less. I'm going to configure with everything I can get. And I think it's going to end up at $15,000. It is $2,400. It's $5,200 for 256 gigabytes of memory. That is crazy. That's just absolutely crazy. I'm going to keep on adding now. So there we go. Storage. Yep, there we are. There we are. Mid-teens for the iMac Pro. I would not be getting that. I would probably get something along these lines. Yeah, I'd get that, but I certainly wouldn't get that. I would get 64 gigabytes. I would not get the 18 core. Let's say the 14 core. So there's what I would be paying if I got an iMac Pro right now, $8,000, almost $8,100. That's what I'd be spending today. So instead of spending that kind of money, I'm spending $8,000 to $10,000 on a Mac Pro whenever it comes out. So who has a Mac Pro? Who has an iMac Pro? Mac says, "Hi, Richard. How you doing, Mac?" And he says, "Any news about BRAW support in Final Cut Pro?" I have not heard anything specifically about BRAW support. It is a hotly, hotly requested feature. I think Apple and Blackmagic have to reach an agreement together. The way Apple and Avid did, Apple and Avid got an agreement where ProRes RAW is in Media Composer, and Apple wrote the drivers for legacy media in Final Cut Pro for Avid. So they have a handshake. They have a handshake. I don't think you're going to get BRAW support without ProRes RAW support getting on the Blackmagic cameras and Resolve. I don't see any advantage to it, but who knows? Obviously they can do whatever the heck they want to do. I'm pretty certain that we're going to see BRAW support in Final Cut Pro. And ProRes RAW support in the Blackmagic cameras. Look, the Blackmagic cameras already do ProRes, right? They already have the license to record ProRes. Just bump that license up to include ProRes RAW and whatever other configurations they have to do, and that'll be it. All righty. So far, we've had one person said they are going to buy a Mac Pro. I am going to buy a Mac Pro. I mean, at this point, like I said, I'm not going to spend $8,000 on a iMac Pro, which is what I would be doing. I'm not going to do that. So if I'm going to spend $8,000, I'm getting a Mac Pro. Now, I'm going to be curious. I am very curious to see how much the wheels cost, because I'm planning on buying the wheels. Now, I'm not going to buy them if they're $500. That would be ridiculous. If they're $500, I'll make a cart with wheels, with nice wheels on it, and just set it on top of that. But I definitely want wheels on my version. All right, so if you missed the earlier comment on Apple's, let me see. On Apple's feedback page, Brad Olson noticed this last night. Which version of Final Cut are you using? 10.4.8, which we haven't seen yet. Now, somebody suggested that might be a beta version, but this is a public page, so I don't think that's the case. I think somebody either made a mistake or 10.4.8's coming out today with the Mac Pro. Other people said they wanted 10.5. Of course, we all want 10.5. That'll be out shortly. Shortly. It'll be out at some point. We know that. I'm just checking a few places, see if we have any more comments coming in. So Simon says, do you think Final Cut Pro will return to be the standard one day in the industry? Well, in some places, a standard. So I guess you're saying that Avid is the standard? When you say the industry, do you mean Hollywood? I think Final Cut Pro they've announced 2.5 million seats of it so far. That was over 18 months ago. That was 20 some months ago. So they have 2.5 million seats. At this point, it's probably 3 to 4 million seats. That's kind of a standard. Now, if you're talking about Hollywood, Hollywood is very entrenched with Avid. We've talked about this many, many times. And the Final Cut Pro team, the Pro Apps team, they divide their resources up appropriately. So they have college, they have high school, they have broadcast, they have people who do event videography, and they have Hollywood and broadcast television, of course. They divide resources up into all those categories. They're not going to put all their resources in one category. That wouldn't make any sense. Just like with the Mac Pro coming out, right? So the Mac Pro, as we know, one of the last updates, well, at 10.4.7 for the Mac Pro, Final Cut Pro 10.4.7, they said, they have kept on talking about the new Mac Pro, the new Mac Pro, the new Mac Pro. Well, the new Mac Pro is certainly going to be an incredibly powerful machine for running Final Cut Pro. Logic as well. Look, I run Logic. I have a lot of audio plugins that I can't run in real time or anything close to it with my current setup. I expect with the Mac Pro, I will be able to run a lot more plugins in near real time. So that's one of the things that I'm going to be using the Mac Pro for. So, but I don't expect Final Cut Pro to be having, major features that are only available on the Mac Pro. The Final Cut Pro only available on the Mac Pro. The audience is much bigger. Like I just said, they divide it up into schools, they divide it up in colleges, high schools, they divide broadcast TV. Over in Europe, it's even bigger than it is in the United States. It's done a few films in Hollywood. I think that will just increase as time goes on. And as they improve it, they're not going to just concentrate on features just to get into Hollywood and ignore all the other aspects of the people that use Final Cut Pro. Same thing with the Mac Pro. They're not going to concentrate on a bunch of features that are only available on the Mac Pro and ignore 90% or more of their user base. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to keep on dealing with segments, the whole segments, all the different segments. So I'm getting a Mac Pro, and I'll be glad for any features that are, need the Mac Pro to go on, but I don't want to see just Mac Pro features. That's not fair. That's not what they're going to do. Nobody expects that. Let me just check. We got some comments that I'm not seeing. So we got a comment from Paul Cram, says, watching from Connecticut. Rafa says, hi, Richard from Spain. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in, Rafa. Paul Cram says, I'm not sure why these aren't showing up. They're not showing up on, they're on YouTube, comments on YouTube. Paul Cram says, still using my 2016 MacBook Pro. I just sold mine this year, Paul. I got a 2019. I didn't get the 16-inch. I've had this one for about 6 months. I got it earlier. So let me just see here. Here's one. Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live. If you haven't got the latest version of Final Cut Pro Radio, go to Final Cut Pro Radio, FCPRadio.com. We had two-parters. We talked all about the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit and what went on over there. We had some advice for Apple and other things that we could talk about. Rafa says, fine, working and looking for new tools. Everybody likes to see new tools. So Paul Cram says, what MacBook Pro do you have now? Should I upgrade to the 2019 MacBook Pro? Paul, here's what I would suggest. If that's your main machine, I would upgrade. I sold mine 6 months ago. I sold mine a few months ago, and I bought the 2019. I got an 8-core. But I don't use that as my main machine. I don't use the MacBook Pro as my main machine. I very rarely edit on it. So, but if that's your main machine, absolutely, and definitely get the 16-inch. I mean, it's pretty sweet, pretty sweet machine. So I'm not sure why we didn't get these comments unless they got up there earlier. Let me just see. Nope, don't see them. Some of the comments are coming in that I can post them on the screen, and some of them are not. Checking for the Mac Pro. Nope, it's still not there. Let me just do a check in the App Store while we're live. Nope, it's not showing up there either. I'm sure a lot of people are pinging Apple servers. So I'm going to message somebody who's going to stop by today. Let me see what else we got to talk about first. So one of the other stories, this is a good story from Apple Insider. Editorial, the new Mac Pro is overkill for nearly everybody, and it hit Apple's own target. Yes, the Mac Pro is expensive. Is that a surprise from anybody? Of course not. Everything Apple, every time they put something out, the iPhone is too expensive. The new iPad Pro, it's too expensive. When the iMac Pro came out, everybody said it's too expensive. Well, Apple's a premium company. The Mac Pro is expensive and polarizing, there's no doubt, but precisely hit what and who Apple was aiming for, and it is no way a sign that Apple has lost its way. Of course it hasn't lost its way. People were begging for a professional Mac Pro. They got a professional Mac Pro. This goes on to say when the iMac Pro launched 2 years ago, it met or beat Windows workstation pricing for identical hardware, and right now the Mac Pro at the low end at least looks to be about the same. But admittedly, it is hard to compare it identically. That's exactly right. So the Mac Pro, first off, I'm not going to edit on Windows, and I'm not going to, very unlikely am I going to abandon Final Cut Pro. I can't see that happening. But the Mac Pro looks absolutely stunning. First off, I love the old Mac Pro, so the design I really, really like. Always have. I've liked it since I had a G5 cheese grater, and then I got the Intel cheese graters. My Intel cheese grater, it's down. Let me just turn this down a little bit. It's downstairs, and I'm still running it in the studio. It's, I don't know, 10, 12 years old. Now I've updated it with SSDs and stuff. That's the idea of the Mac Pro. Normally I update every 2.5 years or so average. So this iMac that I'm working on, the 2017, I'd be selling and getting something new. Now's the time. 2.5 years from now, I'll be doing the same thing again. I'm not going to be doing that with the Mac Pro. I'm not planning on it unless a new Mac Pro comes out that's so powerful that I would go ahead and sell it and then buy the new version. But the Mac Pro, I can update SSDs, I can update storage, I can update my own RAM, third-party RAM or whatever. The question I have, I don't know if you guys and gals have this information. What about the graphics cards? So is Apple going to be the sole source for graphics cards for the Mac Pro? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be the sole source. In any event, you don't have to buy the biggest, hardest, fastest graphics cards initially. You can buy a base model one step up, and you can always buy the graphics card a year from now if you need it, or if a new card comes out that's faster, you can buy it from Apple at that point. You can install it yourself. It's not very difficult. So that's going to be interesting. The only thing I'm going to get a 14 or 18 core, is that what they are, or the 12 and 16, I can't remember. I'm not getting the 8 core. That's going to be one thing I'm not, because that's one thing you can't update. Okay, you cannot update the CPU. So this says, if you're comparing the Core i9 to the Xeon W chips in the Mac Pro and comparing the cost because the i9 works better for you, then you are not the target market for the new Mac Pro. That's okay though, because frankly, the new Mac Pro isn't for most of Apple Insider's staff either. That's absolutely correct. It's not for everybody, but if somebody wants one and somebody wants to get one, don't worry about it. You get what you want to work with and let everybody else get what they want to work with. I mean, I have neighbors that have fancier cars than me. I don't care. We both go to the same places. I don't care that they have fancier cars than me. So I don't care if somebody does or does not buy a Mac Pro, and you should not either. So here we go. Emil says, I've had my 2013 Mac Pro for 6 years now, and it has served me very well. I upgraded the CPU, RAM, and SSD, and it still has a lot of life in it. And I expect the new Mac Pro will last for at least 6 years as well. That's correct. I didn't get a trash can. It wasn't for me. I stuck with the iMac line at that point. I didn't even get an iMac Pro, although now if I got an iMac, I would absolutely get an iMac Pro because the iMacs only have 2 Thunderbolt 3 slots. I can't live with 2. So Thomas says, hi from Bulgaria. I'm still with my maxed Mac Pro 5.1, and I feel quite good with it. 3 feature films, new shorts, and documentaries. I plan to wait for the new Mac Pro and buy it secondhand sometime in this life. I hope 10.5 will still be running in Mojave. Oh, that'll be interesting, won't it? 10.5 when it comes out, Final Cut Pro 10.5. That will be very interesting. Let's just check here, see what's going on. There's the newsroom, nothing there. Coming this fall, still coming this fall. So it looks like it's not going to be out for a while. Looks like it might be, who knows? So Cedric Beasley says the only thing worth upgrading is faster SSD or video card. Or larger SSDs, right, Cedric? Cedric? Oh, let me see. We got some people that want to come on. Let me just grab them real quick. And we'll bring some guests on. So the only thing worth updating is faster SSDs or video card. Well, plus, yes, video cards, faster and larger SSDs. And let me just do this. And larger SSDs, you can put RAIDs in, all kinds of neat stuff. So let's just check coming this fall. All right, let's bring some guests on here. Let me go over here and get them on Skype. Some people you might know. Let me just hold on for 1 second if you don't mind. I am going to who else do I have here? And one more. Where are we? There we go. Done. Updating conversation. All right, let's invite these people in. Some friends of ours. Let's see what happens here. Here we go. 1 second, guys. Oh, I gotta put my thing on. I gotta connect my earpiece on here.
Can you hear me?
Got it set up already.
Bill.
Did it go live while I was not paying attention?
I am paying
seen
attention.
anything.
I am paying attention. Let me just get set up here. Okay, there we are there. And I am going to put Brad, Patrick, and me. You guys are now live.
Hey.
Hello.
So do you guys know these people? We have Brad Olson from Off the Tracks, and we have Patrick Southern from Frame.io.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
So, Patrick,
Good. Are you in New York, Patrick?
That I am, yeah. So I
you
apologize for background noise, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
I figured you'd be in an apartment if you were in LA, and it looks like you're at Frame.io HQ.
I am at Frame.io HQ, yeah. We're hanging
Brad's
out.
been there, yeah.
Oh,
Not
well, he's
the
not
new
been,
one.
He's not been to the new office. Yeah, the new office, we just moved in maybe 3 months ago. Actually, no, it was right around 3 months ago because I started the week that they were moving.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Frame.io has some stuff to tell us. What's going on at Frame.io today, Patrick?
Well, we are launching a new Mac Pro. No, I'm just
Your own version?
No. We launched a brand new iPad app today. So prior to today, we had iOS and we had web and we had Mac, but we didn't have a proper dedicated iPad app. So now instead of having to use a browser on iPad, you've got a fully integrated app on iPad. So you can have the same experience that you have, the same great experience you have on mobile or on web, now on iPad as well. So if you want to, do review of dailies, or if you're wanting to do review and approval, all of that can be done from an iPad. And we've updated the UI to fit the size and shape of the iPad screen. And of course, now you have the opportunity to, scrub using Apple Pencil and that sort of a thing. So,
yeah, I like the Apple Pencil. I haven't got one yet, but I really like the way it looks.
Yeah, I don't have one because I don't have an iPad, but
right.
But I would very much like one.
Absolutely. So, I know you guys are working on a Michael Cioni plugin. Have you got that working yet?
That's a good question.
How does that work? Is it
I don't know. I just figured you'd have a plugin for Michael Cioni.
Yeah, no.
It's like the Minority Report. He's just sitting there in a tub of.
Yeah, he's just in a sensory deprivation pool, and we've got him plugged in directly to our cloud servers.
Nice.
Now that would be very smart if you could get that working. Yes.
Oh my!
So weird.
He's going to watch this later and wonder what is going on.
Michael's got a great sense of humor.
Yes, he does. He does. Yeah, he's here in New York with me. We're kind of having like a company-wide party this week, so we're all kind of hanging out here in New York. So it's really cool to be able to hang out with people from all over the world here at Frame.io headquarters.
Absolutely. I'll get up there one of these days because it's on the East Coast, so that's someplace I definitely can get to.
It is a place you can definitely get to. The problem is that if you wanted to hang out with me and go to Armadillo Willie's, there's not one nearby. So
there's not in New York? They don't have an Armadillo Willie's. I'm surprised.
No, but I did. I was in Brooklyn yesterday, and I did find a barbecue joint. So there's at least one barbecue joint in New York, maybe more than just the one.
No, I'm sure there is. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of food in New York. There's no shortage of that. When I was up there for, what was it for? It was for, I got certified for being Apple certified trainer for Final Cut Pro 10, no, Final Cut Pro 5 it was. And there's an Apple headquarters up there, and that's where we took our test. But there is food, I mean, just everywhere. You walk, and there's food, and there's great food here, and there's food there, and, so that's not a problem.
Not at all. Not at all. So what do you guys think? Is there anything else interesting to talk about today?
Nothing. We just came on to check on your beard.
Well, I haven't seen Apple update anything, but there is Color Finale 2.
Yes.
There is.
I don't know if I haven't been watching Richard this morning. I apologize. I was feeding my daughter breakfast.
Priorities.
So I don't know if you've already talked about this.
Yes, we did, but go ahead. Do you use Color Finale at this point?
I haven't for a while. Some projects I'll dabble with Cinema Grade, just because a lot of the built-in tools, and now with between Chris Hawkins and Tangents kind of partnering, you can use a tangent ripple. I don't know if you can. There we go. Use one of these with the built-in tools. But this is very interesting, and of course Roger has his core melt. What is that called? Color chromatic.
There you go. Right.
Yep. Chromatic.
And this kind of adds some features to compete with that a little bit more. There's masking, there's tracking, and then there's and I mean those are the top two things. And then I think they've got a shot matching tool set, automate primary color correction. So I wonder if that competes a little bit with Premiere's color matching with the neural engine, I think is what Adobe calls it. They've got a LUT. I'm interested to see what they've done with LUT management. LUT management is kind of obnoxious in Resolve and Final Cut, going between systems if they're not installed in the same place. Having to redirect it. I don't know if you guys have played with Resolves, but I like digging through a node and trying to find which LUT is missing is really
Right.
obnoxious in Resolve. So if there's an auto locate LUT, that's awesome.
I think it
every
said it's going
system-
to search your hard drive for all LUTs or something.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what
That's
it said.
interesting.
Yeah, it'll search for all the LUTs on your hard drive, and then it'll add them to the inspector or whatever the heck it is.
And then it's probably also looking for personal documents, and it'll upload it.
Exactly. Of course.
And that's how Denver ends up with all of your financial information, and that's how he makes his real money.
This is interesting, though. Color Finale is no longer by Color Grading Central.
Right.
There's a new company called Color Tricks. So it's actually not Denver's company. So Cinema Grade must be Denver's thing. It looks like they branched companies because Color Tricks is a new.
Oh.
So it's probably his old partner is now taking over Color Finale, and Denver's taking over Cinema Grade. I don't know if there's any official announcements about that, but that's what I gather from the Color Tricks Ltd. And if you look at the teaser, it's very different style than the way Denver put his videos together as well. So I don't even think I'm sure he worked on this, but I don't think he put the video together.
I don't know. I mean, there are instances where, like Philip and Greg, they had intelligent assistants for a lot of their apps, and then they created Lumberjack systems separately for Lumberjack. So just because there's a different company that's behind it doesn't mean that Denver's not involved or that it's not his company necessarily. It could still be his company that he's differentiated from Color Grading Central, because Color Grading Central is more of a training platform and this is more of a software platform.
Well, that's a good point.
I'll just say this. There hasn't been anything officially announced, as far as I know. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
So, anyway.
But speaking of official announcements, what I really want to know, Richard, is which version of the Mac Pro are you getting?
Well, I'm going to be getting a mid-level version. So here's the thing with the Mac Pro, as we all know. It can be updated later. You don't have to, like with the iMac Pro, you have to get everything. Maybe, I don't know, does the iMac Pro, can you do RAM upgrades from the back like you can with the Mac Pro? I mean, the iMac?
I don't recall.
I don't think you can, but my iMac I can. This set 2017 still has a little door in the back, so I can update.
Right.
I can update there. But with the Mac Pro, I don't have to get all the RAM. I can get a base level RAM. 32 gigabytes is the base. I might go up to 64. Depends on if it's a few $100. Absolutely. Same with the graphics card. I'm probably going to get the base level one. Maybe go up one step, right?
Right, and then you can get whatever graphics card you want later. The other piece is that because you can do the GPU and because you can do the RAM, it seems like the thing to focus on would be CPU, right?
Exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get, because the CPU you cannot update later. And there's definitely a difference between the 8-core and the step up, either it's a 12 or 14, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. So that's the one I'm going to concentrate on. I'm not going to get the 8-core. Absolutely not getting that one. I'm going to go to one step up or two steps up, depending on the cost factor. If it's,
Now, something that's interesting that I've learned from a few software developers on the video side is that in terms of video processing, there is actually a point where clock speed ends up being more important than the number of cores, right? So at a certain point, if you're trying to multi-thread video processing, I don't know if you guys remember trying to split things up into multiple different chunks using compressor, and how at a certain point, the more stuff you have to stitch back together at the end, the longer the process can end up taking. So there's like a certain point where beyond a certain number of chunks in compressor, it's no longer useful. The same goes for the rest of video processing that's not being chunked out like that via compressor. If you're trying to render or export or process video, it ends up being that clock speed ends up being more important, because if you try to throw all 28 cores at a single video process, everything has to get combined back together at the end anyway.
Right, that makes sense.
So I'd be curious to know if Final Cut's handling that different than Resolve and Premiere and Media Composer, but at least with the other NLEs, that's my understanding. And my guess would be that same thing applies to Final Cut Pro 10, although Final Cut Pro 10 can take advantage of all of the cores.
Right. So I'm just looking at the iMac Pro, and the difference between the 8-core and the 18-core is $2,400.
That's a huge difference.
That's a huge
What's the clock
difference.
speed? What's the clock speed on each of those?
On the 18 core, it's 2.3 gigahertz. On the 8 core, it's 3.2 gigahertz. But it's $2,400 difference between those two. Does it seem like that would be comparable to what the Mac Pro, since they're both... What actually, the processors, are they using Xeon chips in the iMac Pro?
I don't know.
I don't know. But here's the killer. Besides that, 256 gigabytes of memory, $4,800. So you figure just for 256, it's $5,000 on the iMac Pro.
So Richard, was your question if the iMac Pro uses Xeon chips?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Okay, so it's probably comparable. So going from 8 cores to 18 cores is $2,400. So I expect something comparable for the Mac Pro. But the memory was what I got: 256 gigabytes, $4,800, $5,000, and the Mac Pro does 1.5 terabyte.
I'm sure you can save $2,000 by getting third-party RAM when you upgrade to have 1.5 terabytes of.
Right. I'm sure that's
whatever it is.
Well, interestingly, let's welcome Bill Davis, who joined us. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Hey,
Is this
Bill.
live?
Yes.
Oh, well, welcome to the world.
You think we were talking to ourselves? All this intelligent conversation.
I thought this was the pre-show chat.
No, I've been on since.
Good morning, everybody.
Richard got on at 6 a.m. Eastern time. He's just been talking. We watched him go get coffee and
called me at 6 a.m.
I gave Bill some shock.
Anyway, it's an exciting morning back in this world.
It is indeed.
Yeah. When does the configurator go pro, guys? Pro.
Live.
When does it go live?
Well,
I'm just thinking pro is on the mind. Mac and Pro is on the mind.
Here's the thing: is the Mac Pro on sale everywhere in the world, or just the United States and maybe some of Europe?
I would assume you could order it from anywhere.
Because Europe's sleeping right now, right? There's going to be like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. They're eating dinner.
Because I talk to people all over the world. I have 3 clocks in my other office, and one which is on my time, one of which is on London time, and one of which is on Beijing time.
Okay.
And it's weird to sit there and look up and glance and say, oh, yeah, they're completely asleep. It's 4 a.m. or whatever. I'm not near those clocks, so I can't tell what time it is. But it's something to think about. Everybody doesn't live the same schedule as we do.
So Chris Jones came in and said 1.5 terabyte of RAM cost about $15,000 from Crucial. Now, I'm not sure if that's the same RAM that the Mac Pro is using, but I expect it to exceed the cost of the Mac Pro itself, since the iMac is $5,000 to go to 256.
Yeah, my guess would be that they anticipate the Mac Pro being something that can last for years.
Right.
And so my thought process is, I think I can wait until the cost of RAM goes down to put the full 1.5 terabytes in there,
Exactly. Well, I'm never going to have that much. There's nothing that I do that needs that much. I mean,
you're not a real pro unless you get at least a terabyte of RAM.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Do you get a free?
You got to handle the 16K workflows.
I think that there are going to be apps that will eventually take advantage of that. And I mean, look, we had 4 gigs of RAM 10 years ago, and we're like, oh, that's so much RAM.
Right.
And, so the idea of in another 10 years, if I buy a Mac Pro today, in 10 years from now, me actually using the full 1.5 terabytes.
Actually, 10 years ago, we would get really mad when Final Cut Pro would say you've reached your 4 gig limit. Like, I won't do anything else. Remember that notification? Just like,
Yep.
32-bit, yeah. But now we're 64-bit. And
my most expensive Mac was a 2FX that I bought mid 80s, mid 90s. Can't remember when it came out. But if I recall correctly, the least bottom line number for the machine was $17,500. And this was, like I said, 80s or 90s. So if you project that with inflation between now and then, it's odd that we're in this mindset where, oh my God, that's so expensive and so unaffordable. When in point of fact, lots of business people have been paying these kind of dollars all the time through history for a machine that does a particular job. It's our baseline, and they change over time. So I think a lot of people, not consumer level numbers, but a lot of people who will just go, hey, I'm doing scientific calculation. This is just a line item at the end of your budget. That's all it is. And if I have to throw 20 grand at it, it's fine. And if you're doing, if you're working at the Large Hadron Collider for CERN in Geneva, it's
exactly.
Like, how many of these do we need? Just write down the number and we'll do a PO.
So I was talking to Chris Hawking online, and I didn't think that the original Mac, the 2013 Mac Pro, sold that many. And he seems to think that they sold a lot. But I think
I saw them in a lot of unexpected places. Everyone said, "Oh, no one's buying these," and then I'd go into marketing departments and video companies and other places, and I saw them like on all the desks. So I was even watching a Nova special the other day about AI, and somebody was sitting at their computer with a Mac Pro cylinder. So, I don't know if they were. I know a lot of people who also held on to their 2008 or 2012 Mac Pro Tower, but I saw them in more places than people claimed they were.
Yeah, what's funny is I feel like the oddest place that I found them was about every 12 steps in Tomorrowland at Disneyland. They had one of the trash cans that you could just. Never mind. Bad joke.
I'm trying to follow this. You're talking about being at Disney World and they had cylinder-looking trash cans?
That was the joke. And tomorrow,
you need a photo in order or video to sell this to me, because I'm having to picture it. It's just. If it was the trash can Mac. I was making a joke about trash cans.
Right.
Literally decorated to look like R2-D2, probably.
Probably so, yeah. Actually, I could see Disney selling the remaining chassis to not Disney. I could see Apple selling the remaining chassis for the Mac Pro 2013 model to Disney for their Droid Depot, where you can build your own Star Wars droid. I think that.
It's a better joke, Patrick.
That's a better joke?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys should be awake by now.
We got a comment from Chris Jones. I'm guessing a fully decked out Mac Pro will be about $60,000. I think it'll be certainly in the.
Somebody should do that. Just try to check Macs on every. See what the bottom line number is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they will. And then somebody will be like, Apple's so expensive. It's a luxury brand. La.
Yeah, well, we don't know that at this point.
The point of a car, and if you argue that cars are becoming less and less valuable, that's a weird thing. But my son has never owned a car and tells me he never will. That's all he does is Uber and take public transit. That's his mindset. So what will he do with all that money that he would have given to Detroit for an automobile that now Uber and those companies will be getting from him for the rest of his life? Well, why not buy a computer with it? So even for him. Maybe, if maybe there will be Mac Pro financing companies like there are automobile financing companies, and that becomes aspirational for the teenagers. When are you getting your blown out computer that'll go? And I think you're right about the idea that'll go for a number of years. These will be long-term investments for most people, or at least, it's legitimately a decade's worth of investment.
Yeah. Well, and Apple has traditionally had financing through Barclay. If you end up going to any of their retail locations, you can get financing for Apple equipment. So getting financing for a Mac Pro today is not an unrealistic expectation.
No.
Yeah, somebody said yesterday that the business lease is not a bad deal. 1 to 3 years business lease.
Oh, that's not a bad idea either.
Well, here's something else. Somebody posted an article, I think it was Apple Insider. Until December 31st, if you have an Apple card, you get 6% off of any hardware purchase instead of the normal 3%. So
that popped up when I went check the Apple store this morning.
That's
not a bad idea.
Yeah, well,
kind of covers tax if you're having to pay tax on it.
Right. So I priced I priced an iMac Pro yesterday. If I was buying today, my iMac Pro would be $8,100. Okay, and that's mid-level, because it goes to $1,500 for the top line. Mid-level for me would be $8,100. So my Mac Pro, based on iMac prices, is going to be about $10K. That 6% is $600. That takes care of my tax. Yeah, takes care of my Maryland state tax, which is 5%. And then I still get an extra $100 on top of that. If I buy it now, I might wait a little bit, because they do. It's amazing. You guys, Bill got a 2016 MacBook Pro. Like a couple days after it came out, I saw it on sale.
Yeah,
$200 off.
I got $250 off of mine.
Okay.
So the ExpertCom that's in Utah actually is usually listed as one of the best discounts on Mac hardware.
Really? Oh, okay.
Mac Rumors will always put that store up, and then it'll be like everyone else is like offering 100 or 200. But I got 250 off on my configuration, and I did a trade-in. And in Utah, if I'm a film and TV company, I can put a sales tax exempt. Check that box. Saves me lots of money.
It's not a bad deal.
So
you didn't buy $1,000 worth of Apple gift cards at 10% off and buy it with that?
Well, do they work for the hardware store, or are they just software?
Sorry, who?
The gift cards.
Gift cards. I think they're just Apple stuff. I don't know how you'd be a little bit annoying to sit there and enter all those numbers.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, there's App Store, iTunes. Well, okay. Previously, there were App Store, iTunes Store. I think there's just one general thing for the software, but there are also Apple Store gift cards.
Okay.
If you have the Apple Store gift cards.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. Well, guys, I actually need to hop off and get some work done over here, but please enjoy the rest of the conversation.
Didn't you say it was a Frame.io party all week long?
It's a Frame.io party, and that we get to party work together.
Okay. So, Patrick, anybody wants to find out about, I put it up earlier, anybody wants to find out about the new Frame.io app? I'm sorry, I'm going to put it up right now while I'm talking to you. So it's right there, Frame.io app suite, right size for all your needs, and it's on the App Store for the iPad, right?
That's right. If you go to the App Store for the iPad, then you'll find our new iPad app. It's unlike the Mac Pro. The app itself is free. The subscription is the thing that costs. So if you've already got a Frame.io subscription, the upgrade to the iPad app is free $99.
There you go.
So, yeah. Well, I hope you guys all get to enjoy our new iPad app today. And I look forward to hearing what your configurations are. I will probably not be sharing my configuration. It's going to be secret to me. It's going to be my own personal configuration. But I am interested to see how you guys end up setting up your configurations later today.
Sounds good, Patrick. Thanks for stopping by. Say hi to Michael.
Will do. And I'll talk
And
to you guys later.
talk to you later.
See ya.
Thanks.
All right.
You just see Emery walk past you? Oh, there you're gone. So anyway, here we are. So you guys been on for a long time?
Yeah, since 11. I mean, since 10. I've been on since 10, and you guys came on at 11. So the reason was because we weren't sure what time, if they were going to announce the updates. I'm going to stay on until they announce the updates. I don't care. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, what the hell? I have nothing.
Are we going to start talking about the last vacations, or?
Yeah. No, there's
Because we were going to start like a little protest thing, release the new Mac Pro, and get more people on.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
We're not leaving till it's up.
That's what I was wondering, if they're going to just
Occupy
be United
Skype.
States centric. Because right now, if they come on at in an hour or whatever, it's later on Europe.
Yeah, I mean they drop it.
Okay,
well, right
so
now in Europe
this
is
has
what it's like
no reality,
4:30.
What'd you say, Bill?
The time zone wise, let's assume that they're going to coordinate whatever launch it is out of Cupertino, right?
Yeah.
So it's 8:30 now. So if you completely imagine, which is what I'm doing because I have no idea, but if you imagine that they want people to get to their desks and have an hour of prep time before they do something, I'm going to guess 9, which equals noon,
Right.
East Coast. That would just be a completely uninformed guess.
Right.
But it could be at 14 this evening, and who
Right,
knows?
because I've been checking their site recently, and they update like the newsroom all times of the day and night. They updated 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know if this will be a newsroom update or not. The last update was yesterday, December the 9th. They updated for Apple Makes History with multiple Golden Globe nominations for the morning show, which is excellent if you guys have not seen that.
I have. In fact, my wife and I see how our brains are changing. We tend to wait until there's 2 episodes.
Right.
Because without commercials and the rest of that, what are they, 40-some minutes, 44 minutes? That's, I think, a TV show without the commercial breaks in there. And we enjoy watching 2 shows back to back. So we will typically hold on to one show until the second one comes out, then watch them both simultaneously, and then wait the 2 weeks until the next one comes out. The world has changed.
It's
changed when I was a kid.
Go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just going to say that it used to be you waited until 6 p.m. on Sunday night to watch the show that you liked every week religiously, and now they're just all out there. But this is different.
Yeah, so having bought a new Mac, I have the Apple TV Plus or whatever thing for a year, but I have not checked anything out yet. But I plan to soon. I'm trying to finish some other shows first, and then I'll hop over. My initial instinct is I wasn't that interested in watching the morning show, so the fact that you're saying it's pretty good makes me curious. I was a little more interested in the space one, For All Mankind.
Right.
All Mankind.
Right. I
haven't
watched,
seen much of the other one.
Yep.
Go ahead, Richard.
I've started watching 3. The morning show, it's excellent. It's nothing like the posters show you. It's not for kids. Listen, we were talking before, and I was saying, well, I think Apple is going to be more PG. Listen, the 2 that I've watched, they are nowhere near PG. The morning show is not PG, and neither is the other one, Servant. There's no way they are. I'm really proud of Apple. I keep saying that to my girlfriend when we watch these shows. I'm so proud of them that they're not. They are edgy. They are letting the people do stuff that's not just PG. So that's really cool. But the morning show.
I'm make this comment. None of it seems gratuitous. It's not that they're throwing in swear words for the sake of throwing in swear words. You get the feeling that these high-pressured, under-the-gun people swear, because they're under pressure. Just like you hit your thumb with a hammer, that's the time you're going to swear, not when you're talking to somebody in average conversation. So it seems organic to me. The language seems that the writers understood what they were doing and have just written in how people really are.
Right. It's just that if you're thinking it's Disney, it's not. I mean, I thought it was going to be more Disney related. I mean, type Disney type. It's not. The two that I've seen are absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, I like that they can do that. They have their freedom to do that. So.
Yeah, not that everything has gone that direction. There's Dickinson and a few other shows which are much more civil and much less civil.
Right.
That feels an oddly throwback plus. I mean, and Emily Dickinson was an 18th century character, a real person. So it's interesting how they balance in that, writing in contemporary voice as opposed to old-fashioned voice, and yet bringing up the mood of that time, which was, particularly in her area, more genteel and more, less prone to dropping F-bombs.
Right. No, exactly. There's definitely some F-bombs and other bombs in there as well. And the other thing was, when I mentioned that I really liked the promo for Servant, that Servant is not a horror flick. Initially I thought it was somebody said, well, I don't do horror. It's not horror at all. It's a mystery. It's a drama. It's really, really good, though. I really like Servant as well. Of course, that's M. Night Shyamalan. Is that the gentleman's name?
Right, the one who did Unbreakable, and those were some groundbreaking films in his early career. He took things to, that's an interesting premise, to have a lead character who, at the slightest accident, would break a bone, and then put him in a circumstance of some violence. That's an interesting idea. Right.
And didn't he do Sixth Sense too?
Yes, the boy. Yeah, and got superb performances out of that young man.
Yeah, and also Bruce Willis. Because I didn't know. I'm not going to give it away, but I didn't know till the end what was going on. It was quite a shock. So.
Right, and those are good people who can tell good stories, keep you engaged all the way up, and then kind of blow you away at the end. That's good narrative storytelling, as opposed to it's real too, and I've already figured out everybody who's going to do everything, and then you watch the rest of the movie, and yes, the bad guy was the bad guy, the good guy was the good guy, or I know they were trying to make me think this guy's the bad guy, but I've already been able to figure out that he's not.
Right. So, Bill, do you have any update on your MacBook Pro?
No, which is the best possible news. It has just, to me, like a faster, snappier version of the machine I had before, which means that there's nothing plus or nothing minus. The only thing that's been annoying to me is that I am now hypersensitive to listening to every single thing that happens if I'm not engaged in work. Like if I just open my machine up and do something, I'm saying, did I miss any of the clicking sounds? If I listen real closely, can I hear them? Because there was so much online about that little switch-in transient sound. And I don't know why I got lucky enough, but I got lucky enough, and there's absolutely none of that on mine. Now, Apple investigating, I guess, has determined that, yes, it does happen. And I know it does. This is a little anecdote on the side, but I was on with Peter Wiggins because I had that article going up. And Peter asked me, he said, are you, he's got the clicking sound. And so he said, do you? And I said, well, no, but let me do a quick screen capture and I'll, tell me the circumstance where it shows up. And I will use Screen Recorder and go into that and give you the system sound. And so tell me, maybe it's something that I'm not hearing because I'm not attuned to it. So I sent
Bill,
him
are you plugged in? Are you listening through headphones or the MacBook Pro speakers themselves?
I asked him, how should I set it up and how should I go do these tests? And in what circumstances are you hearing this clicking sound? And let me recreate that as best I can. So I did that. We went through 2 rounds of this, and I sent him the audio files, and he could not hear anything. And we did it from the internal sound. I also used the microphone on my phone. I mean, I shot it with my phone, keeping my phone right here next to the speakers, and did a real world, this is what I am hearing thing. We produced. So go ahead.
So my experience has been, if I plug in my headphones or through the external mic jack, the speakers, I don't get any weird clicking issue. But I did notice when I had it unplugged from speakers and was playing over the MacBook Pro speakers in Final Cut, when I'd hit pause, it would click. So I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
And according
we went
to
through what we thought were the most.
It says it's fixable through a future software update. There's a Mac Rumors article that I read a few days ago.
And
Friday.
So it may be because I normally use that Zoom Tap 2 interface. Maybe my computer expects all of its audio to be routed through that port. And maybe that port is not in line with whatever it is. But then, like today, I'm unplugged from everything. I'm completely using system resources and nothing else. I mean, that's the nice thing about these new mics and the new speakers, is that I'm literally now coming in, putting my laptop on this mount in the corner of this entire chat is being done without a single connection or dongle happening anywhere. So I was unable to reproduce it, which only means that in a circumstance like I'm living with right now, it doesn't necessarily have to. That doesn't mean that a lot of other people don't have some different configuration or some, in a different spec part of the calculation, or not calculation, but the I/O bus processing on their Macs, don't see it, because we see a number of people talking about it. So but that doesn't mean it must happen, because I'm just lucky and it's not happening for me.
Right.
And I don't normally edit with just listening to the MacBook Pro speakers, so I hadn't thought about it, and then just the other day I clicked on something, I didn't have my headphone jack plugged in, and I was like, oh, there it is. Mine has it too, I guess. I'm not too worried about it though. Like I said, future software update.
If they figured out,
and I don't really edit that way.
Terminable, they'll figure out the software termination. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like for a long time, everybody who was cutting in Final Cut got clicks when they were cutting their multicams. It's like a cousin to that. There's something that if you're editing a multi-clip that you brought into a timeline, people were getting some sort of transient sound every time they put an edit in, and they hated that.
I could be wrong, but I think I remember a lot of times when people had that issue, they were dropping a multicam clip that had one frame rate into a timeline that had another frame rate.
Oh, really?
So when they were, I could be wrong, but I think that was one issue.
Okay.
At least in one of the instances where we were helping someone out, we determined that was contributing or was the cause of the issue.
Okay.
Which would make sense if you're making a cut into something, the samples are not going to line up.
Right. The two drummers are marching at different and
is Bill frozen on your end?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Okay. Like, is it me or is it him? Bill,
So
you're frozen. Can you see us?
One of the things that I did earlier, Brad, was I went on to the Apple feedback page.
Yeah.
That you came up with last night, and we found 10.4.8. Now, I'm not sure what other explanation there would be besides 10.4.8's coming out. I mean, I don't think that's a kind of mistake that they make.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing I pointed out to you too, though, is that on the feedback form, when you dropped down to the configuration of I thought it was ironic that they didn't have the MacBook Pro 16-inch listed as one of the options of what's your configuration, what's your computer.
Right.
So they had like a future update, but they hadn't updated it from a month ago of what systems you were able to use. So that was somewhat ironic. But I was just writing in. I've had this bit of feedback that when you have like a missing LUT or effect or whatever, Final Cut takes up the whole viewer with a red warning, and some of these I'm like, why don't you just put it in the indicator in the bottom right hand corner?
Sure.
And maybe even tell me what LUT is missing right on the viewer.
Oh, yeah.
So that it's not just like interrupting what I'm seeing on screen. I can still work with it, which could be beneficial if you don't have the same things installed, but you want somebody else to trim something. You don't want to bother sending them everything. They could just keep working, and it's this little indicator says, oh, the LUT's missing.
Yep.
But they just keep working, and then they send it back to you, and the LUTs are all relinked. Or, like I said, it could be a filter effect, a transition. So there's lots of that was my feedback. So I was like, I need to write this one in. I've had that on my mind for a while, and then I was like, went down to what version of Final Cut are you using? 10.4.8. Did I miss something?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So
screenshot it, send it to you.
Yeah. So people have been surmising that there's going to be a Final Cut Pro update with the Mac Pro. We'll have to find out when the Mac Pro comes out.
I should have the App Store up as well.
Yeah, I have both of them up. So somebody said that the iCal event said 9 a.m. PST, which is just coming up in 15 minutes. So I'll at least wait till that point and see if it comes up, because I just want to price it myself. And I figured I'd do it live so everybody can get sticker shock at the same time. So do you think, somebody had a question, do you think the 2013 Mac Pro is still a useful computer?
That's an interesting question. Sure, depending on what your workflow is. I mean, it's if you can get a really good deal on one, they can work with eGPUs. I think with some sort of hack, you don't get the same throughput performance, but they can work with eGPUs and that's one way to kind of upgrade them. You can go to Max Sales and you can put a larger solid state drive and you can put 128 gigs of RAM in it. Okay. So, I mean, I've seen, there's places in the world where they'll buy 5 to 10 year old, equipment. Just, like a broadcaster in Africa, for example, might have a bunch of old licenses of Final Cut 7 because it will work. Right. And they're just kind of, they're buying that stuff for super cheap, and we made great stuff on it, so I don't see why you couldn't. If you're doing HDR, if you're planning to go up to 8K in the next few years, then I probably wouldn't and make the investment. But how many people need that? Right. I don't know. I sold mine a year ago. I felt like it was time to make some new purchases, and then I switched out even my 2018 MacBook Pro for the newest model, and that was mostly because it was $2,000 for me to make that transition to with the trade-in, with some of the stuff I talked about, the discount and the sales tax exemption in Utah for film and TV companies. And everything on my MacBook Pro is twice as fast. Like all the rendering, all the exporting, right, seems to be consistently twice as fast as my old machine. And that right there is just, it's worth it. It was worth the upgrade for me. So that's, and my Mac Mini, for example, I'll run. I've been running DCPs lately through it, through Resolve, and Easy DCP will take advantage of all the cores on the Mac Mini, and it runs just as fast, if not faster, than my old Mac Pro did. Is that right? DCPs. In fact, it's a little faster. So I kind of would lean, if I was buying, if I wasn't able to afford a Mac Pro and I wanted a desktop and I already had some screen that I really liked using, I would kind of lean more towards a Mac Mini with an eGPU. Okay. In fact, I know a friend of mine who's doing 8K renders with the Mac Mini and an eGPU, and he was getting better speeds with that than their iMac Pro. I'll be darned. Because they had a really good eGPU. Yeah, well, you have a Mac Mini, right? I do. I don't have the eGPU for it. I kind of figure my MacBook Pros 5500M 8 gig video card is
Right.
good enough for those things, and then I use the Mac Mini for other stuff, for simpler things. Usually when the MacBook Pro's tied up,
Right,
I'll hop
exactly.
over on the Mac Mini.
Exactly.
But I kind of would lean, if I was thinking between a trash can or a Mac Mini with an eGPU, I would probably lean more towards the Mac Mini with the eGPU. You're going to get 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports. It's going to give you a lot more throughput.
Right.
And it's a lot, it's more modern. They'll probably update the Mac Mini sometime next year, I hope. I hope we don't go through another spell of waiting, 5 years for any update. And really, even then, it was more like 6 or 7 years since the real update for the Mac Mini.
Right.
Because the 2014 model was actually not as good as I think it was like a 2012 Mac Mini. I had an older Mac Mini, I think it was a 2012, or we bought it in 2013 model, and and when I traded it in, what I didn't realize is we had a spinning disk drive and it was really slow. And then they were like, oh, well, there's 2 hard drive bays in this model of the Mac Mini. And I was like, I could have slipped in a couple SSDs in there. But by that point, we were getting the new machine. So
right, exactly.
So they're kind of interesting.
I don't know where the heck Bill is. I tried to call him back, but he's not.
Oh, I thought I heard him.
He was, and then I called him back, and then he was having problems. It's probably, internet related, I presume.
Yeah, there's I don't know, San Diego's been hit by a power outage, because that happens there. I don't know. He's on a Cox cable or something, and it's not doing him well.
No, he's kind of back again. Bill, we can hear you, we can't see you yet.
Okay. Hang on a second. I switched to my phone. I came into my other office because I think it's connection. I think something happened with the router out in the studio.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be here.
Give me a minute and I'll see if I can figure back on.
We'll be here.
Okay.
So one of the things that I got, Brad, now is I have a hardware switcher when I switch scenes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it makes it that's one step easier. And also I got an updated audio interface. There's Bill. Can I turn your phone horizontal, Bill, please? There you go.
There you go.
Please. Don't be doing vertical video on this show.
Hang on a second. I've got nothing connected to my iPhone. This is interesting. I went from the laptop in there to here. Let me see if I can figure out some way to fix things while you guys can just chat.
Okay. Yeah, we're just.
Well, so speaking of a hardware interface to switch, I noticed there's a lot less clicking, because there used to always be clicking on your end.
Right, because it was a mouse clicking yep. Constantly. Now it's silent buttons, but I have a hardware. It's a Steam Deck. It has 15 buttons that you can program, and it's not just for live streaming. It's also you can use it for Final Cut Pro and stuff. And then I updated my Apollo interface. I had the Arrow, which was a single Thunderbolt cable it had 2 mic inputs. The problem was I was running out of, even though it had 2 microphone inputs, I was running out of CPU. They have dedicated hardware CPU to run these plugins. That's how you get it in real time. And I was hitting the upper limits of that. So what I did was I got a quad. I got the new version. It's a quad. It has 4 of the processors dedicated just for running the hardware version, or running the software version of the plugins. And now I'm down to, 15%, 20% typically. So I'm way, way below it, which is what I like. But the other thing was it has a physical mute button. And I love that. Just I can click it. The mouse isn't going around trying to find something and clicking on it. It has a physical mute button. So I think Bill's back. Yeah, Bill's back.
I'm back. I'm just trying to hook up my desktop or my laptop that I use as a desktop instead of my phone, because you're on my phone right now.
Oh.
So I'm plugging in USB-C connections,
Okay.
left and right.
So, Brad, you were talking earlier when we were talking about that you would be interested in that new display.
Yeah, I really want in 2020. I really want to be all in on HDR workflows. I don't anticipate too many like clients or producers asking me for an HDR deliverable, but I want to be a bit ahead of the curve in understanding what best practices are. So, I've got my 6K pocket camera, and hopefully we'll get a Blackmagic RAW plugin. But even without that, I can shoot ProRes and work in Final Cut, or I can work in Resolve. And I want to be able to monitor and see what real HDR looks like, and kind of like I said, just they've made it easier in Catalina with the tone mapping and for SDR displays, and they've also the way that if you make a QuickTime movie and it flags it as HDR, they have these new color profiles. So a lot of that being better, and so I figure now's a great time, and it'll cost a lot less than it did 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
And there's already some ideas for best practices. Like I was reading that if you're using SDR content in an HDR project, because that was one question I had, is if you're making like a documentary film and you're using this old footage and it's 8-bit, and you're not going to want to spread that out to HDR levels. And at least one place was saying that they found the best practices is to use 203 nits. I don't know why it's 3, but around 200 nits as kind of your peak level white for SDR content in an HDR project, which also gives me some ideas of, well, where should I really target? Because you really don't want to it's like, oh, the scale goes up to 10,000 nits, so we can monitor up to 1,600 nits, but it's like,
right,
you really don't want to have like we used to fill up the 0 to 100 kind of IRE range in Final Cut, maybe keeping it more towards the middle and the bottom, but still letting our white clouds and stuff up at the top and lights. And that was kind of this ceiling. But now it's like there is no ceiling. So I think you need to practice with some restraint and keep things in a reasonable nit level. And so it seems like still targeting most things in that standard dynamic range kind of brightness.
Right. Yep.
Those are just some theories. I want to experiment, and I want to try and see how does that look, and how do the images look, and what hurts my eyes, and
Exactly.
And then by the time that it's really been adopted by everybody and they just expect you to deliver HDR, I'll be ready for it. So that's, for me, that's like, what are your options? You can buy a $5,000 Apple display with like a $200 Visa mount it to something. I've actually got a monitor stand already that I could mount it to. Or you could, you could spend another $1,000 on the monitor stand Apple makes. Or you could maybe go the Atomos neon direction, and you're really not saving much money, and you don't get 6K resolution on any of those displays. In fact, their 32-inch 4K display costs more than Apple's, and I don't really need a ProRes RAW recorder built into a giant monitor that I'm going to use for color grading. But
right,
the neon direction, and then in the past, I know some people have used the Atomos, forgetting which one that's called. They have like a 19-inch Sumo. Okay. And they discontinued the monitor-only version of that. So you can get the monitor recorder version, which will do 4K ProRes RAW. But that monitor, it says it's 10-bit FCR or something. Like it's really 8-bit with some sort of 2-bit additional dithering or something that makes it look.
Yep.
I mean, that's an option. It's $2,000. You buy the Blackmagic little 4K HDR box, which is another $1,000. You're spending $3,000 on older hardware. It's still kind of like, do you just spend more money and get the $5,000 display? So those are the options I'm kind of weighing at the moment. Now, what'd be really cool is if there was an iPad Pro that was HDR compatible, and there's I mean it can play back HDR content, but one that actually
Right.
hits the same brightness that like the iPhones do. You got the iPhone 11, which can do up to 1200 nit peak. It'd be cool to have an iPad Pro like that. I don't know what the power restrictions are. There's the recent rumor of Apple working on micro LED displays so that you can turn on and off all the little backlighting, which will give you improved contrast ratio. And they're saying that the next year's models of the 16-inch MacBook Pro and iPad Pros may have this micro LED technology. Of course, I read that with a grain of salt and say it's all kind of speculative. But I assume that eventually all Mac displays will be HDR, like actual HDR, not just tone mapped. So anyway, but at the moment, the Pro Display XDR seems like a great option for people who are willing to spend the money to get into this, and not have to spend 40 grand
Right.
to do it.
Right.
Can
So
you guys hear me?
there's a comment on.
Yeah, we can hear you. You're a little quiet, but I can hear you.
Well, that's just a matter.
Yeah, why don't you turn up a little bit, Bill?
Is there like a volume control gain?
There should be. Is that? Let's see. What am I feeding you through? No, I'm probably feeding it by the internal microphone on the MacBook, which means that I can just get closer to it. We'll use the inverse square principle. Does that help?
Still seems a little quiet to me.
Okay, I'm going to switch off. To a
No,
different-
you're talking through that microphone, Bill, because when you got close to the
Yeah.
mic was.
I don't think so. Am I?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
I am. Oh, well, that's easy enough. I can just. Well, if I turn that up, I'll have to turn the monitor down.
There you
but
go. That's it. That's
Yeah.
better.
Okay.
when you got
here we
closer
go.
to it, there you
Testing
go.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
very
go.
nice
Thumbs
and
up. I
clear.
can't hear you because I'm not on headphones, but now I am.
There you go.
Testing.
There you go. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Well, I can't hear you guys at all, so I've got a patch wrong. So I'm sorry. This is the great modern world of this stuff. Okay, MacBook Pro speakers node switched out to Zoom Tech 2 for the output, and this is. It says MacBook Pro microphone.
Okay, we should be seeing an update now, right?
You hearing now?
Hey, gentlemen,
That's weird. I still can't hear you guys. So
We
the
are
output,
live.
Even though
There it is. Bye.
it's supposedly
Bye.
coming from Zoom Tech 2,
Still can't-
and that's turned up all the
but
way.
I clicked on the link
And
and it says
everything is
cannot
in
find
place,
the page you're looking
and
for.
that's got here.
We
you
are
bet-
live.
I bet you that's the problem. I bet you the 12-volt in on that is no longer.
Bill, time out, Bill. We want to talk here. Yeah, I'm clicking on the link, Richard, but it is to
Testing.
buy the Mac Pro, but it's redirecting me and saying the page you're looking for can't be found. So there is a buy button, but it's not working on my end yet. Are you
So-
getting it on your end?
I haven't. I'm trying to get it centered in the live stream. There we go.
Come
so
on,
I'm
come on.
I'm gonna
Apple,
click
the
it.
page you're
Bye.
looking
Come
for.
on. Let's see what it says.
Mine's saying the page you're
Yes,
looking for.
I got
There
it.
we go.
I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Choose
I'm
your
gonna
Mac Pro.
quit
I'm going to
Safari
choose my
and
Mac
restart
Pro.
All right, you're configurating.
Oh, that's the old Mac Pro. What the heck?
See, I told mine was not redirecting.
That is
Let's see if I can get it
bizarre.
to work.
That is so bizarre,
Hey,
Apple. Come
Mac
on, you can do
Pro.
better than that.
Buy. Nope, the page you're looking for can't be found is what I'm getting.
I guess they're doing it. So there's the Mac Pro. There's the buy button.
Pushing. You just gotta wait for it to I'm gonna
propagate.
go to the newsroom page. Yep.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
we can.
So I finally got everything connected right.
Bill, it was really funny. You're sitting there describing all the patching you're doing, and we're seeing the page refresh with the buy button, and we're like, "Hold on, Bill. Hold on. Just shut up."
You know,
No.
Richard, you need some little grease pencil pad that you can hold up for people like me who can't hear you.
Well,
And you have to
the
write
in-
backwards.
here's the interesting thing. When you click the buy button, it takes you to the 2013 Mac Pro.
It's the old page.
It's the old Mac Pro page.
Yeah, it went to the old Mac Pro page.
Isn't
now.
that bizarre
That's
that they don't have
that's
that? It's so strange that they went live and they're going to the wrong page. Come on, Apple, you can do better than that. All this
Yeah,
time
for
we've been
sure.
waiting, but anyway, at least we know it's coming up. It's coming up shortly.
Yeah. The buy page or the buy button is there, and mine was not redirecting me to that page at first. Now it is, but it's the old trash can. So we gotta let the servers
Propagate. You got to let the
there.
content propagate across all the world's servers.
Shouldn't it be hitting you sooner, Bill? If it's central than Cupertino?
It's 9:03 here. It's 5:04 in London, and it's 1 in the morning in Beijing. That's all I know because that's what's on the wall beside me.
Well, I just don't know how the servers update. I'm just saying you're closest to Cupertino, right? So
I am.
Or are we about the same? You're closer.
Only on Pro.
So when you go to the Mac Pro page and where it says buy, can you find that? Where does it take you?
Hang on a second. Mac Pro, new Mac Pro page. It says buy.
I got it. I can configure they've got a more expensive. They have the Mac Rack Pro, or the Rack Mac Pro. That's right.
So I'm looking at that.
Okay, so I'm going to configure
$99 for the Mac Pro rack mount. So it's $500 to get the rack mount add-on.
$7,000 upgrade to do the 28 core processor.
Well, are you doing straight up or are you doing rack mount?
$25,000 for 1.5 terabyte memory. 2 Radeon Pro Vega is another $10,800. And if you want 4 terabyte, they say coming soon 8 terabyte SSD, but if you want a 4 terabyte SSD, that's going to do another $1,400. I'm not going to worry about the accessories or Final Cut. So $50,000, $50,200 is what it's going to cost to upgrade all the hardware on the Apple page.
Wow. I'm still getting the old Mac Pro. I'm not updated yet.
No, it's live here. So it's coming. If it was me a few seconds before Brad, then it's going to be you not too long in the future here.
There it is. Got it.
There you go.
Oh, interesting. So some of the upgrades, if you upgrade to the 28 core, it was graying out lower options when I was upgrading to certain things. So that's...
Well, I clicked on the server mount version and it says coming soon and it doesn't give me any configuration options yet. I don't know whether the server rack mount horizontal option gives you any additional ability to add anything.
So so the 12 or 16, like you said, Brad, the 12 core is $1,000, the 16 core is $2,000.
So I think you can get a pretty reasonable, for 10 grand, you can get a really kicking machine.
Yeah.
I've got it 12 core.
I'm going to do the 16 core and just go from there. Memory. So the weird thing is they don't go to 64. They go from 32
they go to 48 because they're 8 gig sticks and they don't have it would be what 8 gig sticks is what you would need. They don't have that configuration.
So I'm going to stick with the basic because I can probably find third-party RAM, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I want to thank Apple for not treating us all like children and not making this $999.99. Every price on the configurator is simple: $1,000, $2,000,
yes,
$6,000,
that's very true.
$7,000. They're not trying to retail you into thinking it's really only $299 instead of $300, kids. So bravo. I mean.
Now
yes.
There's a giant jump in graphics memory, so I won't be getting that either.
If you go to the Vega 2 with 32 gigs of memory, it's $2,400 upgrade.
Now, how are they going to be coming? So it's coming soon. 16 gigabytes of memory.
So, which one?
Well, coming soon, Radeon Pro 50.
Radeon Pro with 16 gigabytes of memory. So that'll be the step in between.
Okay, so
these are all the Vega cards
coming soon. So that's interesting. So that's what I'll probably wait for. I'm not going to spend $2,400 at this point for that. Storage, I'll go with the 2 terabyte. That's $800 more. So that's not bad. It's $9,000 for me. It's $8,799. However, I definitely want wheels. How much are wheels?
Where are the wheels?
$400.
The cabling comes in black now.
So the wheels are not detachable. The wheels are you get the steel frame with wheels or the steel frame with feet. I'm getting the steel frame with feet because I can make a cart. As a matter of fact, you and Chris ought to make a modified tall maker.
Box for Mac Pro.
Right? Make a modified tall maker that'll also fit under the Mac Pro. So that's not bad.
Yeah. No, it's there's some reasonable configuration options here for. I mean, you're looking at like, should I buy an iMac Pro? Should I buy a Mac Pro? And you can build out a Mac Pro machine for comparable prices. So that's
this is exciting. So I'm not going to spend $2,400 for the 32 gigabyte HDMI, the Radeon Pro Vega 2, but I will look at the Radeon Pro with 16 gigabytes, which should be in between.
What's interesting is I wondered if there was going to be some sort of, I guess it wouldn't have worked to do some sort of integrated graphics or whatever because it's a server processor. But I was curious to see if there would be like an option with a very small graphics card. But they started a pretty good graphics card, 8 gigs of VRAM.
So the downside is that I don't see a price for the Afterburner or any of the pre-announced add-ons that people are very interested in.
There's no price for it?
I don't see it anywhere. I don't see where you can configure with an Afterburner. That must be
$2,000.
Well, where do you see it?
At the bottom, $2,000.
For the Afterburner?
Yes.
I'm not seeing it.
$2,000 for the Afterburner card.
Let me refresh my page.
Right above feet or wheels.
Oh, there it is. I refreshed the page and it's there.
Yeah.
$2,000 for the Afterburner. Got it. Oh yeah,
I
they
won't be getting that either. I'm not getting the wheels for $400. I'm not doing that.
This page is slowly being updated.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is if you want 1.5 terabytes of memory, you have to upgrade to the 28 core.
Yes, I knew that before.
I wonder if the 24 core. The 24 core will do it.
Oh, it will. Okay.
Yeah, but you can't if you're at the 16 core, you can't get 1.5 terabytes of RAM in there. So you got to go to the 24, and then if you go up to the 1.5 terabytes of RAM, then the lower processor options are grayed out. So
if you're watching this while checking it out on your own, this is updating substantially because I just clicked back and kept click back, and now all of a sudden these extra options are there that weren't there before.
So there's the trackpad.
So I'm going to go to the Max. I'm going to go to the Max, see what the Max price is.
Let's add the Afterburner to that.
Yeah, I'm going to add everything. So I'm already up to 50,000.
So that means you have to get both the mouse and the trackpad, Richard.
And I'm going to get...
You're going to get wheels?
Yeah, sure. If I'm going...
Go full hog.
I'm getting everything.
Money.
I'm getting everything. So here's what it came up to, 52,748 so far. I do get a free keyboard.
Well, there
I
you
do
go.
get a keyboard.
It's black, it looks like. It looks like a... Well, no, maybe that's just keys. The mouse is black, and all the cables are black. There's a departure.
$58,748 with... I clicked everything. Oh, I already got Final Cut Pro. I'm not going to click that. I already got Logic.
So you couldn't get over 60,000. I'm disappointed.
Well, no, you can add more than one graphics card, I think, can't you?
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, if you get the 2 Radeon Pro Vega 2 Duos, that will fill up the slots that you would have.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's like the most, because those each take 2.
You're right.
2
slots. Right.
So those are that's 4 that are just being and it has to have those wider ones. So I think that maxes out your GPU.
So $52,748. No, I'm not going to do that. But I imagine that thing would just absolutely fly.
It gives you 28 cores with 56 threads simultaneously. That's a lot of grunt.
Yeah, and 1.5 terabyte of RAM. So that's not going to happen, but that is interesting. 52,000
with 1.5 terabytes of RAM.
Terabytes of RAM. Yes.
And that requires a 24 or 28 core processor to be able to address and use that much RAM.
Right. So, Brad, the question was, should I get the 12 or 16 core? That would be the question. $1,000 difference. Probably get the 16, I guess. That's more future-proofing.
I don't know.
Also, it notes
I mean,
here, I'm
I
back
guess-
in the specs thing, the tech specs. The 12-core and 28-core processors operate memory at 2,933 megahertz.
Right.
So that sucker is screaming.
Absolutely. So I'm going back to, so 300 gigabytes, $300 for, let me see, that would be 24 more gigabytes. No, 16 more gigabytes of RAM. Is that worth it? Probably not. I'll just stick to 32.
Yeah,
For now, I can update
there's
it
definitely
later.
going to be There's definitely going to be third-party RAM available.
Right.
Although I don't know if the $300 is that expensive of an upgrade.
That's what I was wondering. If it's, I'd rather buy it from Apple direct, but
I mean, they've got a configuration, so it looks like there's up to 12 slots. So I don't see why you couldn't just do 4 more, third party 4 more 32 gigs of RAM and go to 64, but do third party for your other 4 sticks.
right. That's true. Yeah, so I'm at 8,000 with, and which one did I get? 8,000 with the base graphics card. I don't know if I should. I'll probably just wait till I get the other one out and see what the price is.
Man, that after.
So for those of you who want to know what $60,000 or just under $60,000 gets you, I'm down on the tech specs, and at the top end AMD Radeon Pro Vega 2 Duo, and I'm just assuming that there may be people who can get the video feed of this through whatever video provider you're using, but can't get on the website because it's probably getting hammered a lot. These are pretty astonishing specs. 2 Vega 2 GPUs, each with 64 compute units and 4,096 stream processors.
Right.
64 gigs of HBM2 memory, 32 gigs per GPU, each with 1 terabyte a second memory bandwidth. So they've maxed every pipe in and out of all these things, up to 28.3 teraflops of single precision, 56.6 teraflops of half precision. That's the screaming amount of data inside of these things, crossing buses. Onboard Infinity Fabric Link connection connects the 2 Vega 2 GPUs at 84 gigabytes a second. 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports and 1 HDMI 2.0 port on the card, so it's direct connect. 4 DisplayPort connections routed to systems to support internal Thunderbolt 3 ports, up to 8 4K displays, 4 5K displays, or 4 Pro Display XDRs. So for those of you who really want to surround yourself with imagery, you could do 4 Pro Display XDRs in an array around you and feel like you're gaming to the max. Full height MPX module fills an MPX bay and uses extra power and PCIe bandwidth. So those are the things they note on the top end system configs for tech specs. Then everything drops down marginally the lower you go, but that's the max, which everybody wants to know about.
So this is interesting. I wonder what prices you get here. Save with business pricing. If you're a professional with a small business, you may qualify for special pricing and other benefits.
Right.
So you could save a little bit more money if you just register with the business Apple ID.
And it does say 6% daily cash back when you pay with Apple Card until December 31st. So you do get that 6% back. So hopefully they start coming out with some of these, like you said, that place in Utah in the next couple of days. Expercom, if they come back with maybe a couple hundred discount, a couple $100 or $300, and then, well, the Apple Card 6% though doesn't apply unless you buy it from Apple.
Yeah, I was
directly.
That's only through Apple,
and that's a good incentive.
Well, wait, is it with the Apple Card, right?
Apple Card, we have to buy it from Apple.com or an Apple store. The 6%. I
bet they would honor the 6% at Expercom because they are a partner, an Apple partner. And usually when they actually order through, they kind of do it through the Apple store, but then they get their own little pricing on it. So,
right.
But yeah, that site hasn't been updated yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if they have it ready later today.
For those of you who want to do Bitcoin mining or something like this, and the power supply, 1,280 watts max at either 108 to 125 or 220 to 240 volts. So this guy is going to suck up some power if you're running it cranked out. So pay attention to your electric bill, kids.
No, I'm gonna use it for a heater in my studio. My studio is cold. I have it under the desk. It'll just blow on, keep me warm. That's what I figured.
They talked a lot about thermal management in this beast, and clearly there were the thermal engineers over there who spent a lot of time looking at max loads and what they were going to have to do to keep this thing running efficiently for 10 years. And I think that's why we laugh about the cheese grater thing, but isn't that the purpose of the design team having to do something so that literally the maximum possible amount of air can flow through this to vent all the heat that this beast is going to be generating?
Yeah, exactly. What the power bill's going to look like. That's been my Pro Display XDRs and the.
This is having a room space heater on. I mean, 1,200 watts.
I wonder too. It'd be interesting to find out how
not 1,200. Yeah, 1,200 watts.
Apple's obsessed with everything being super quiet. So I wonder, what kind of noise the fan generates when it does get super hot. I know with the older towers, I remember people just setting them up in a different room and having really long cables into their workroom. So
in old TV stations, that was the point of the machine room. Is that you literally built a space and put often glass doors there. So because you walked in there and it was loud. Yeah. It was, all sorts of fans running constantly to vent heat. And usually there had to be some special venting from wherever that machine room was to the outside of the building.
Yeah.
Suck the heat out.
Well, I remember when I stopped by Light Iron to interview Chione for the documentary, they had a server room behind glass as well, just to manage all of their systems, and they had tons and tons of storage and tons of video processors, and so it hasn't changed that much for those facilities, but it's just crazy how much we can do on a MacBook Pro.
This is the stuff that those of us who are just civilians who don't run facilities like that, you don't think about these elements of owning a machine like this. You do have to at least pay some attention to, okay, this thing is going to be chunking out a lot of heat. So if, like me in the old days, you live in Arizona and you're paying for an air conditioning load, I had an air conditioning bill some months that was $600-700 a month.
Wow.
Just to pay for air conditioning.
You're kidding.
No. That is not that unusual. I mean, we had a reasonably large house. Actually, I had the house, a guest house, and between the two of those, my APS, Arizona Public Service bill, could easily climb to $600 in a July or August kind of framework. And you just expected that. I mean, you lived in a relatively large house, and it was 114 outside, and to keep everybody who was living on the property comfortable, that was the ticket. So here you have this thing that's going to be a 1,200 watt space heater running under your desk all day long. The air conditioning load for somebody to keep this space livable is a reasonable consideration.
If you got a basement or crawl space, set it up in there, and then the other thought that now I'm blanking out. Yeah, that's crazy though.
Well, here's the thing. If you put the monitor, if you get the monitor in, right?
Yeah.
It's $60,000 with everything, top spec, everything. Go. However, with 6% back, that's $3,000 off. $3,000 you get off. So that's,
And then look at the business pricing option as well.
Yeah.
If you own a small business. The other thing I was thinking is maybe that's a really good motivator to get solar if you don't already have solar on your house, is to help offset the power bill of the Mac Pro.
And maybe that's why Phil and Greg put in the Tesla Powerwall.
Yeah.
Just to offload the peak.
Did you see that Elon was driving his truck around L.A.?
Down to get a burger or something.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody said it doesn't have a rear view mirror. Is that legal? So I don't know what the deal is with that, but
my guess is that 90% of the motor officers who would pull him over would be so awestruck with the beast of a car that they would maybe let him off with a warning.
Steve Jobs used to ride around without a tag on his car because people were stealing it, and he could ride for 6 months without a tag, so he traded his car in every 6 months and got a new car because people kept stealing his tags.
Well, I thought it was because he didn't want people to know his license plate number, but then it made it more obvious to find his car because it's like, it's the Mercedes without a license plate. That's Steve Jobs' car.
So Matt O'Shea says, is the CPU upgradable in the future? I don't know. I mean, the CPU upgrade would have to depend on the motherboard, right?
Yeah, but everything is kind of, you can pull everything out of this, right? So it's just the frame. So there must be some sort of module that is the fundamental processor module for the thing. So the question is, could you pop that out and put an alternate one in there, and would it work just the same?
So Chris Mertens just said 53K.
Hi, Chris.
Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. Yeah, well, that's I don't know who would be getting that. I'm certainly not getting anything close to that. A 1/6 of that, mine's going to be 10K or under. So, but I can't wait.
When are you ordering, Richard? Are you going to wait for the new video cards to come out?
Yes, I definitely don't want an 8 gigabyte card because the next step up is too steep. So I'm going to wait for the 16 gigabyte. Hopefully, once again, that 6% from Apple is very, very tempting. Hey, Chris Merton says, hey, guys.
The tower weighs just under 40 pounds. 39.7 pounds for, it doesn't say what the configuration is, but that's the spec they publish. So this is going to be a pretty beefy thing. It's 40 pounds of weight. And I don't know whether that's before all those packed up RAM cards get in there. Those are dense little beasts, and they weigh a lot too.
Well, the other thing is, so the T2 chip, the security chip, I thought it just encrypted the boot up drive, but it also encrypts storage. Yeah. So any SSD that you put in this beast will have to be compatible with whatever Apple's throwing that way, right? The security chip, it has to be compatible with doing the security thing, I presume.
Yeah. Hey, they've left QuickTime Player on it. I was just looking at the built-in apps. It comes with a whole bunch of the usual specs.
Well, the new QuickTime Player, which isn't at all the old QuickTime Player, and it's just AV Foundation. But yeah.
Yeah, but if you have old QuickTime movies sitting around, and how many of us don't, and you double-click them, they will launch. Comes with Apple News, stocks.
Well, I'm assuming whatever works in Catalina will work in it. But yeah, the QuickTime Player app is just the new one.
Hey kids, it comes with Apple TV pre-installed, so you can buy one of these for your game room so the kids can watch their favorite shows.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
You get free Apple TV for a year.
There were third-party modules that I'm guessing have not been announced yet. Like somebody was who's the company that was gonna offer like an actual little storage module that could do like 32 terabytes. I'm curious, is it Sonnet that was doing that? You guys remember that? Anybody?
It could have been Sonnet. I buy a lot of their stuff. Absolutely could have been.
So that may come later, but there was I know that there was somebody that was going to do third-party internal storage.
That was Promise. That was Promise.
Promise was doing
Promise.
Okay.
Yes, they already have
I'm sure
that.
Sonnet will do something too.
They already have that. Everybody will. OWC probably will.
And there's two of those specified in their tech specs. There's a Promise Pegasus R4i 32 terabyte RAID MPX module kit, and a Promise Pegasus J2i kit. There's also, so this is interesting only because your question, Richard, about what could be pulled and replaced. the kits and accessories is at the very bottom of specifications of tech specs. And it lists a Pro Display XDR Pro Stand VESA mount adapter. There's 4 graphics cards, the Radeon Pro W5700X, the Radeon Pro Vega 2 MPX, the Radeon Pro Vega 2 Duo, and the Apple Afterburner kit. Those are all listed under graphics updates that you can buy separately. Memory, they have 5 memory kits from 16 gig up to the 256 memory kit, so you can definitely swap out your memory later. Storage, those 2 modules from Pegasus that I just, from Promise, that I just mentioned. They do list Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro X as add-ons in accessories. And then there's a Belkin lock adapter. So you buy one of these and you don't want someone to steal it. You will have some sort of a lock adapter for the Mac Pro. So they must have engineered some sort of locking port on it. There's a auxiliary power cable kit from Belkin. There's a Logic Tech Pro magnetic webcam. And AppleCare is the last accessory. So those are things that they're listing on their buy page at the bottom of it. They also have a chunk about the Mac Pro and the environment. So they give a little room to the Apple trade-in program to get rid of your old hardware. They do a lot of talking, thankfully, about their recyclability and stuff like that, energy efficiency. And it's even with this massive stuff, it says it meets Energy Star requirements. That must have been an interesting challenge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's Energy Star and there's, I guess what this says is at this level with this much requirement, it does the best it can. You're still going to be sucking down a lot of power to run this thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like I said, I'm using it for a space heater. I'll take it in with me. That's why I want to get some wheels. So Brad, I meant to ask you, what is the deal with your tall maker? Is that a real thing that you guys are going to sell?
Yeah. Chris is ramping up production on them.
Okay.
And we're selling them $50 a piece.
Excellent.
I've been talking around here, some local grips and stuff in Utah. I've already had somebody buy one from me. So, I mean, we are at the early stages. We still need to make a website, and we're gonna, right now it's just kind of something that if people want to know about, just hit Chris up on Twitter or me on Facebook or whatever, and we can add your name to the list to get tall makers. Chris is really, really excited about it. Every weekend he goes home. In Sacramento, he goes to his house and he's out in the garage and he's sending me pictures and video of what he's working on. So they're a thing. I mean, it's we'll see if it's more than just something we do for friends, but
Yeah.
It's certainly. I mean, the people I've shown it to are like, this is brilliant. They love the name.
It's really nice. It was really nice.
They love being able to put stuff inside.
Yep.
I have a sound guy that bought one that's like he's, rigging it up so he can put his boom mic in there, and it's a useful thing to have an Apple box obviously on set, and even more useful if you can store stuff in it, and even cooler if it's called a tall maker.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, it is the ultimate thing if you have something that's fragile, like your new MacBook Pro or something, and you want to toss it in the back and there's going to be a ton of gear on top of it, your grip gear, your C-stands and stuff like that, put it in the tall maker and it becomes virtually indestructible.
I don't know if the MacBook Pro, the 16-inch model, can fit in a tall maker, but I will have to test that out.
Yeah, check out the internal dimensions and see, because, if I was taking microphones or something like that on a live shoot, that would be the first thing I would think of. Those are fragile. I do not want, again,
microphones
a stand.
Definitely fit in there.
Yeah, to smash that stuff. So you put a tall maker in the back of your pickup truck or your back of your van as the first thing, and put anything that's like cannot get squished inside it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to get to the end of your destination without being squished.
Bill, we probably need you to get a tall maker and give us a little customer video on that.
Here are my Steuben glass figurines that I am taking to the swap meet. Yes, the tall maker would be fabulous for that.
There you go. Well, I'll have him at. We'll definitely be bringing him with us to NAB.
Okay,
So
good.
maybe Chris can ramp up production and we'll have like 20 there that we can sell. We'll just be walking. We were talking about just going to trade shows and walking around with them, and then what's that? Oh,
Well,
it's a tall maker.
if you make the
Absolutely, yeah.
16-inch capable tall maker, Chris will have to do the engineering to determine whether an opening that large will impact structural integrity. But if it doesn't, and he can make that, I want it to be called the San Diego model.
There you go.
All right.
Well, that was certainly fun this morning, wasn't it? It timed out just about perfect. We got all of our other nonsense out of the way, and then right at 12 o'clock, I'm glad it was 12 and not 1 because I was getting hungry.
I was right. I just realized that's what I said early in the thing, right? That was my prediction.
There you go.
What do I win for having predicted the time of the Mac Pro release? 9 a.m. California time, noon East Coast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You win a Tellmaker San Diego edition if we can figure out if that works.
You get free shipping on one.
Yeah. Fine print associated to this deal.
How fun.
It's like winning the lottery.
Do you guys, prediction time, do you think there's going to be a FCPX Creative Summit next year?
I don't know. I mean, the last event was well attended, I think.
Yes, it was.
I think it just comes down to if they've got something they want to show to us, hopefully. But it is a good. I don't know. I would want there to be one.
I think it's half that. I also think that FMC, which surprisingly, since I'm on more of their mailing lists and know them a little better now, it's remarkable the number of events they do, and obviously with things like the one that iJustine is doing in Los Angeles, or just did, I can't remember if it was this last weekend or whatever.
I thought it was coming up, but
yeah, content for the young generation of vloggers and stuff like that. Clearly, they see their business as doing all sorts of events. I mean, I used to think of them just as doing their training stuff, which was kind of traditional, come to our facilities and there's a bunch of machines here and you can get certified on whatever. Not all Mac related, not all video related. There was all sorts of stuff. Then the conference thing, but it seems like they're ramping up the conference thing because they're at a number of conferences. And when I saw feeds from them, it's like, we're in, Nashville or we're someplace else, and we're doing another small conference. It seems like they're growing into being a conference company, of which clearly NAB and the FMC training that happens as a massive part of NAB is kind of the linchpin. So if they just want to keep going around and doing these kind of events, there's no reason not to keep the Final Cut Pro community in that, because I would guess that this is in profit.
I think that the Final Cut Pro FCPX Creative Summit is probably a special event for them because it's backed with Apple. None of their other events have had that kind of backing from Apple. I know Premiere and Adobe backs them and different things. And plus, it's right by this. Listen, the only way you get to go into the Apple HQ is through that event, as far as a group of people. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we know how much, even at this event, how much the security, it wasn't at all invasive, but they let you onto their facility. They track you a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
With
we got
your
our
phone.
little pins, and it was like, you can go here.
I think they're still tracking me.
They are. That was part of you had to sign that away that they could track you for life.
Yeah. Got the little magnetic pin here.
Right. So they still know where you are, Brad.
I don't know if you want to hold out and see if there's any Final Cut Pro update, but I think I'm going to take off for now. Go check on the 4-year-old who's been watching too much television. No,
I think I'm going to probably do the same. If the Final Cut Pro update comes, that's fine. We'll be doing that on Twitter, I guess.
Bug fix updates, because if it's a 10.4.8, I don't know if you saw this, Bill, but I was submitting feedback last night, And one of the options for what version of Final Cut Pro are you using was 10.4.8. And I thought, well, wait a minute.
Oh, hold on there. That's a bit of a jump. And
I should have filled out, yes, I'm using 10.4.8.
Exactly. Then
so you think there might be a 10.4.8, not the jump to 10.5 everybody is hoping for.
That's the interesting part. Yeah.
If it's on the feedback forum, either it's just some mistake or somebody pushed something out early. But then the irony is then when I went down to select what computer I was using, the 16-inch MacBook Pro was not available. So I thought that was an interesting discrepancy. But so we'll see. It kind of makes sense to... Although they already did the Mac Pro update, but maybe they've got some more bugs they want to fix.
Maybe stuff like the
out to everyone.
Yeah, everybody's thinking about this little clicking thing, and so maybe a point update. They feel, that's a simple marketing message to if you're having the clicking problem, make sure you're on 10.4.
Sounds like the clicking problem though is not just Final Cut. It says Logic Pro X, QuickTime like Movies, the Movies app. So people are experiencing that when you hit pause in multiple apps, not just Final Cut.
That's even a stronger reason for them to do a sub-point update to clear out some code issue.
Whatever that might be.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think, like I said, I'm going to take off. We'll just keep an eye on the updates and the social medias and the Twitters and whatnot.
Cool.
Brad, thanks for that post yesterday for that 10.4.8
no problem.
little thing. I posted it out there after you did that. It says what does it say? Chris says, before you go, Brad, unrelated, we should be picture locked on bedtime today.
Oh, is that Alan?
Chris.
Oh, no, Chris Mertens.
Chris Mertens.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll hop on Frame.io and actually watch your cut, Chris. I've been a little busy, but that's Alan Seawright did a short film shoot.
Cool.
I was on set organizing the footage, and he shipped a drive over to Chris Mertens to do the edit.
Here you go.
So, anyway.
It's the new way of the world working. Everybody can be wherever they want to be, and they all can collaborate.
There you go.
Yeah, Chris says, yes, Alan's short. Alan is not short. He is definitely taller than me. I'm 6'3", so that's not correct.
Yeah, Alan's taller than I am, and I'm pretty tall.
Alan's short film, for anybody who's confused.
Oh, okay.
On here.
All he said was Alan was short. I said, no, he's not.
No, it's not apostrophe S. It's Alan is. All right.
Chris Merton says tall maker. There you go.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Have a fabulous week this week, and I'm sure we'll see you all later.
Absolutely. So we still might get an update to Final Cut Pro today, 10.4.8 that Brad discovered. Who knows? We know 10.5's coming, right? Everybody knows that. So, but 10.4.8 may drop today. We just keep on checking. I'm going to get off and get some lunch. It's been 3 hours. Let me see. How long has it been? Yeah, 2 hours and 36 minutes and 05 seconds for me. So.
All right.
Yeah, good. Somebody's at the door. Charlie's let me know. We'll see y'all guys all later.
Yep.
Talk to you later. Thanks for stopping in, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone. Let me see. Here we go. I'm just going to just real quickly make sure you go to FCPRadio.com. That's where the Final Cut Pro Radio podcast is. We've had a couple of good episodes recently with the last two ones have been about the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. If you're curious as to what actually happened there, you can listen to those two podcasts. And what else do we have? So I have two podcasts. They have 1.2 million podcast downloads at this point, so we're doing okay. The other thing is, what else do we have? Go to FCPX.tv. I'm going to be doing more with that in 2020, more tutorials, more articles, etc. I will be posting, I collect a lot of articles, and I'll have a directory of all the Mac Pro articles from today up at FCPX.tv. What else do we have here? Oh, so Final Cut Pro Radio has its own group. We've got a lot of subscribers, a lot of people joining this last week. Facebook.com/groups/Final Cut Pro Radio. Of course, you're already here, probably watching YouTube.com/Richard Taylor TV. So I'm going to go grab something to eat, everyone. My name is Richard Taylor. Thanks a lot for joining in. We've had a blast today. We got to experience the Mac Pro going live on the air. I really appreciate it, everybody. And I will talk to you later. If there's any other breaking news, I'm not going to come back on if there's an update to Final Cut Pro. We saw that on the feedback page, Final Cut Pro 10.4.8 was listed. I'm not going to come back on if that happens today. That's to be expected. So my price for my Mac Pro is like I thought. It's going to be between $9,000 and $10,000, depending on what that one updated graphics card is going to be that they said is coming later. It's the this one here, the graphics card. This one, Radeon Pro with 16 gigabytes of DDR6 memory, coming soon. I will wait to see what the price is of this. I'm not going to go up $2,400 to go from 8 gigabytes to 32 gigabytes, but I might go up $1,000 or whatever, $800 if this 8 gigabyte one is a little bit more than this one. I'd rather get the 16 gigabytes of memory. And listen, let me tell you something. That 6% back until December 31st that Apple has right now, that's a big incentive for me to buy it sooner than I perhaps thought I was going to. So if anybody doesn't have any more questions, my name is Richard Taylor. Stick around on Twitter, Richard Taylor TV. Join our Facebook group, YouTube, and of course, FCPRadio.com. That's the main place where the podcast is. Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for stopping by today. I'm not sure where the Mac Pro, Michael Schmidt says he can't buy one in Germany. I'm not sure where they're available, but I will be seriously looking at buying one before the 31st to get that 6% back. Thanks, everyone, for stopping by. I'll talk to you later.